This is the Ford Explorer Electric, a mid-size SUV built for the European market. And you're watching It's Only Electric, and it's time for a full review. The Explorer measures just below 4.5 meters in total length with a wheelbase of just below 2.8 meters. So the wheelbase is same as the other MEB cars, for instance the ID.4. But this one is 18 centimeters shorter in total length than the ID.4 itself. Let's see how that translates into the interior space, if it affects it or not. It weighs 2.1 tons and it has the same battery pack, so the old big battery pack with a gross capacity of 82 kilowatt hours and a net capacity of 77. The range spans up to 602 kilometers and starts at 530 depending on the version you get. This is the premium rear-wheel drive long-range version, so it has a range of 572 kilometers. And the reason for not having 602 is probably the rims, because the rims are 20-inch instead of 19 as you get as a standard. And to some numbers you will recognize, this is the rear-wheel drive version, meaning that it has one motor at the back, putting out 286 horsepower or 545 newton-meters of torque. 0 to 100 in 6.4 seconds, top speed 180 kilometers per hour. Staggered wheel setup, and this is the 20-inch wheels that comes with a premium package instead of 19. 255/45 at the back, 235/50 at the front, Continental Eco Contact 6 tires. A very high and flat iconic Ford front with a black bar with a big Explorer text connecting the two headlight units. The premium package, as this one has, comes with matrix LED lights, a big Ford logotype on top of the closed grille, and underneath that a contrast gray air spoiler companioned with the LiDAR and the parking sensors in this black area. I like this design and I think it may be the best looking mid-size SUV on this platform. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. The sporty and masculine design continues on the side profile of the car, and as you see, kind of a floating roofline separated by the black accents going the whole way to the rear of the car, with some nice details here on top of the rear glass. The color is called Lucid Red, by the way, and whilst here at the side, the charge port is placed on the right rear fender, manually openable, CCS2 connector of course, with a charge speed, DC charging of a bit disappointing 135 kilowatts. They promise a flat charge curve, so 10 to 80% should take 28 minutes. That's not that bad, but I'm gonna test that in a later video. When it comes to home charging, AC charging, it supports 3-phase support and 11 kilowatts. The overall design is unified at the back with the simple yet effective design of the taillights connected by the black bar with the big Explorer text, and as in the front, the blue logotype in the middle. A wide but short window companioned with a sporty looking air spoiler at the top. I think this is a good looking car, and I think they have done it in a simple way. Kick sensor is included in the premium package. I have a hard time making it work. Yeah, it did. And I stopped it. So powered liftgate, 525 liters. 5 liters is actually disappearing because there is a subwoofer underneath here. There is a double floor, so this one is possible to remove and stow underneath. So when it comes to the practical aspect, it's possible to equip the Explorer with a tow hitch with a total tow capacity of 1,000 kilograms. Foldable seats split into two parts, 40 and 60, with a ski latch in the middle for storing long things. 12-volt outlet And one thing that I noticed during nighttime is that the lighting here at the back is really good. It gets really light and you will see everything. 4 hooks for securing your cargo and a 12-volt outlet. Let's check out the interior and start with the front. And I think Ford has managed to differentiate the interior from the other brands utilizing the same platform. If you look at the dashboard, same kind of hard touch materials. There is a head-up display, works good. It's not the most premium one, it's the lower level of head-up display, not Volkswagen's best. This is a different thing, and this is a soundbar. So the premium version of the Explorer comes with Bang & Olufsen premium sound system with a 10-speaker setup. So this is part of that. You have speakers in the doors, both in the front and at the rear. And in the boot, you have a subwoofer taking up around 5 liters of boot capacity. It is not a premium sound system. It's more or less the system this car deserves as a standard system. But that seems to be a thing from the Volkswagen Group. They don't seem to prioritize sound systems that much, at least not in their electric vehicles. Similarities to other cars running the same MAB platform is the central instrument cluster of 7-inch. They have hidden it inside some extra plastic covers to ears. Feels or looks like 2 speakers or buttons, but they don't have any function at all. It's just some kind of a decoration. Steering wheel is a bit different. It's more square shaped with a flat bottom and flat top. Otherwise, a Ford logotype in the middle. Heated steering wheel, by the way, and the haptic control areas are still present. Bit differently designed, but the functions are at the same positions as the updated ID4, for instance. I have a hard time getting used to the haptic touch buttons. They work well, but they are a bit fiddly to use since they are haptic. I mean, in front of the steering wheel, to the right, we have the gear selector or the drive mode selector. If you turn it forward, you will put it into drive or B. B is the regenerative braking mode. If you turn it towards you, you have neutral or reverse. This is the park button where you turn off or park the car. To the left, you have the stalk for the windshield wipers and the signaling light, of course. I think the dashboard is a bit higher than in the other cars, and this is soft touch material, so it's kind of cushioned. And the air ventilation is manual as the other cars, and adds a good flavor with this chrome inlay that goes through the whole dashboard. One big difference though is the vertically aligned screen instead of the horizontal one that the other cars or manufacturers utilize. The reason for this is probably that Ford is normally using vertical screens. If you look at the Ford F-150 or the Ford Mach-E, they all have vertical screens, so this is more in line with the brand language and the brand DNA, I should say. One thing is that this acts as a hidden storage compartment, so we can actually store things here, and this is locked when you don't have the key, or if you leave the car, it's locked, and there is a unlock button here, but that will only work if you have the key inside the car. With this function, you can adjust the angle of the screen. I don't know why you would do that, because I think it's sitting fairly good in this position. Maybe depending on the sun, if you get a lot of sun glare, you can adjust it to avoid that. But I always run it in this mode. The downside of having the screen vertical aligned is the amount of knee room. So if you're tall as I am, you will touch this area, or at least rest your knee against that area. That removes some flexibility on long trips. You won't be able to find as many resting positions as you can with the vertical or the horizontal screen alignment. Underneath that, you will find Volkswagen's haptic touch control panel that usually sits on top or directly adjacent to the horizontal screen. This is the power on and power off button for the screen. You have the 360 view or parking camera activation, the hazard lights button, and the traditional haptic volume slider. In front of that you have a Qi charger that doesn't work that good for my Pixel phone. It's a bit too big. I think the coils doesn't really come in contact in the right position, because it doesn't matter how I put the phone, still get the same issue. So I'm not possible to charge my phone in this Qi charger, and that's a problem in all ID cars for my phone and for big phones in general. Two adapter cup holders with a distance that follows, so if you are using cups that's not that deep, you can put these in and it won't disappear in the deep pocket here. Cool thing is that this storage compartment actually stores 17 liters, and it's kind of a versatile or adaptive storage area, so you can remove this cup holder for saving some space because it's deep, as you see, compared to this one. So you can put this one in instead, and with that said, you will have more storage in this area. You can even store a 15-inch laptop, according to Ford themselves. Let's put that back. So good storage. This one though is a bit fiddly, doesn't feel ready. It feels more concepty. It's a bit too soft for my taste, and you feel that because it gives way for movement when you put your arm on it. The armrest is cushioned and stitched for a better look. And when talking about storage, there is a good amount of storage inside the cabin of this car. I mean, there is no frunk, but in addition, there is a lot of interior storage. So 17 liters here. You have some storage underneath here. You also have kind of a glass breaker. In case of emergency, if you want to brake or exit the car, you can just break your window and jump out that way. So storage underneath there, and actually plenty of storage inside the door pockets too. So you can store 1 or 2 bottles here. And as you hear, the door sound is solid. That goes for all ID cars on the MEB platform. It's a solid door sound, and I like that because there's no squeaks, there's no wobbles, there's no miss sounds at all, just solid closing sound. The last storage compartment is the traditional glove box. The last thing in the interior is the seating position and the frontal seats. I like the looks of them. Sad thing is that there is no adjustable headrest, and it's good cushioned, but the spot that I'm touching is not cushioned at all. There's kind of a metal bar inside, or a frame at the end points of the headrest. So when I lean backwards, I actually hit that one. Not that nice at all. If you're a bit shorter, you will avoid that because you will probably touch the softer area. So other than the headrest, I think the seating position is okay. The left side is powered with 3 memory slots for 3 different drivers. Otherwise you can adjust it in different angles, and you have a lumbar support adjuster, 2-way lumbar support. There is no extension for your thighs, even if it looks as it when you look at the design of the stitching, but no. So fairly short seating area. You will get decent thigh support thanks to the adjustment of the seating angle, so that will help out. Heated seats here at the front, not at the back. No ventilation, and the passenger seat in the premium version doesn't come powered. So let's jump over to the back seat and check out the rear space. The front seat is adjusted after my driver position. I'm 6'4" or 193 centimeters tall. As you see, I fit, and that's rather impressive. I mean, this car is just below 4.5 meters long. So despite being that short, it's still far between the wheel axles, and that gives us a good interior space. So I'm slightly touching the backrest, but now this is a comfortable position. So if I lean it a bit forward, I will still have a good position at the front. My feet is possible to squeeze underneath the front seats, and headroom, that's impressive. I mean, There is no glass roof on this one. You can equip it with a panoramic glass roof, but it is not standard on the Premium edition. And as you see, sitting straight and have almost 3 fingers of extra headroom, so not even touching the headliner, and that's impressive in this segment for this size of a car. Otherwise, a lot of similarities with the Volkswagen cars, the ID4. The seating position is okay. I mean, thigh support not that great, but not worse than any other car in the segment. The door panels, as always, is hard plastic. That's something I miss, and I think a car in this price class should really come with better materials here at the rear. Otherwise, I cushioned the armrest a bit to the stiffer side on the door. We have some door pockets for storing 1 or 2 bottles, and a pocket here for storing your phone. The mid console consists of 2 USB-C ports. Underneath that, 2 manual adjustable air ventilations, 1 for each passenger. And as you see here in the middle, a armrest. It's fairly wide and well cushioned, and in the center, a 3 setup cup holder for 3 different sizes. Otherwise, here in the back seat, I think it is not that much more to go through. I like the materials, I like the look, I like the stitching. 3 individual headrests, adjustable height-wise for a convenient comfort, as you see, no problem, and they are cushioned and well supportive. I think that's all from the back seat. I keep forgetting how good turning radius this car has. I mean, this platform is amazing, especially if you go for the rear-wheel drive version. It's so agile and so easy to turn around on tight spots. A really nice car in city driving and in dense areas, so easy to maneuver. And I'm glad that Ford actually waited for the new drivetrain, the updated drivetrain with a more powerful and more efficient rear motor. I mean, instead of the old one delivering 204 horsepower, this one has 286, and it's a lot more fun to drive. Even if it's not a driving machine, it's still inspiring enough, and it's low center of gravity. It really makes it predictable and stable on the road, even if it's a SUV. But I can't say that I feel any direct or immediate differences to the driving experience I got in the ID4, for instance, or in the Cupra Born. The Cupra Born was 4-wheel drive, so 340 horsepower. That one is a bit more powerful. But this one, you have enough of power. I mean, 0 to 100 in 6.4 seconds. That's more than enough, and it's still engaging enough. The suspension is very settled, not too soft. When it comes to the body roll, you feel that the car is a bit higher, so it's leaning a bit when pushing it, but it's not too soft, and it's really not uncomfortably hard. I think it's a good mix. And I continue saying that because I really think that Volkswagen's suspension, or Ford suspension in this case, I think it's a good all-rounder. I think it's a great mix. It doesn't give you any missed sounds or strange clangs or anything like that. It's delivering all the time, and it's stable. It's stable and it's finely tuned, I think. That, by the way, is the speed limit assist warning. I will turn that off to avoid annoyance for you guys. When it comes to the dry modes, there is no dry mode selector on the steering wheel or on the instrument panel, control panel. You need to switch that on the screen. I have that as a shortcut on top of the banner, so there is a button for switching the dry mode. You can also do that by voice, by the voice commander. You have 4 different dry modes: Eco, Sport, Normal, and Individual. And as I always say with individuals, drive on individual if you're not going to max out your range, and set that to your preferences. I mean, at this stage you can't set any suspension or anything like that, so It's a couple of simple settings. You can tune the driving dynamics, the steering, the stiffness of the steering, and I'm setting that to sport, and I don't feel that much of a difference between sport and normal. It's a bit more torque to the steering wheel, not too much, so I always drive it on sport. You have the drive called sport or normal, and then you have the adaptive cruise control and air conditioning settings. So set that to your preferences and preferred settings and you will be all fine. When it comes to regen, this one only has 2 modes. There's no auto regen as there can be on some of the ID cars. So you only toggle the regen by switching the drive gear. There's one called D and there's one called B. B stands for brake and D stands for drive. I always drive it in brake because that's the mode that gives you the most regen. I like the regen even if it's a bit too less for my taste. It's not strong enough and it doesn't come to a full stop. It keeps rolling after like 10 kilometers per hour. Never stops. So there is no one pedal driving setting, and that's for all the MAB cars. D is the more or less kind of a coast mode. Not really coast because it still has a slight amount of regen. So for being able to coast, you need to put it into neutral. Because I couldn't find any regen setting on the screen other than D and B mode. What I like with the suspension compared to the Zeekr X I recently tried is that it doesn't nod that much when you accelerate. It's stable, it keeps the car put, and you feel really nice in control. You never feel unsecure. Let's take this car for some gravel and potholes and see how it behaves. When it comes to wind noise, I haven't heard any certain wind noises at the A-pillars. I think it's fairly good designed, so even in higher speeds it's silent. And I'm doing a cabin noise test in my next video where I will compare it to the ID4, for instance, so stay tuned for my next video. I will put the link up here when available. So now entering the gravel road. Let's see what happens, if it's still sophisticated and comfort at a high level. The insulation, as in the other MAB cars, seems to be fairly okay in the wheel arches. Makes some gravel noise, but not that much. That's nice with the rear-wheel drive setup. You can throw the back a bit. I've actually tried to turn off the ECS, the traction control, to be able to get some fun out of the car. But even if I turn it off, it's kind of there. I'm not able to play around with the rear axle. It doesn't throw it away. So it feels like it's kind of a re-engaging it without telling me. So not possible to have that fun. Okay, so potholes, suspension behaves as expected. It's good. It's not uncomfortable. It's not noisy. It's a nice setup. And I have a hard time like expressing any extreme feelings for this car. I mean, it is a good car. It is a good car in almost every aspect. And I think that's the point. It's at the end, it's kind of a Volkswagen with a Ford badge on top of it. It is a decent car. And in some cases, the driving may be a bit boring. It doesn't have that characteristics as other cars may have. It's kind of a blend experience, but still in a good way, because I mean it is a car that you can trust. It feels trustworthy and it feels solid. There's no squeaks, there's no missed sounds, there's no strange things going on. It's just delivering. And it's just that. When it comes to the software as such, I mean, don't expect any Ford software in the car. Don't expect it to have Blue Cruise support, for instance, but it has a decent self-driving capabilities and driver assist systems from the Volkswagen Group. That system that works good. I have used them plentiful several times, and it's a system that works. And the software is not the best on the market, but it's from now on it's decent. I mean, now when it has been upgraded and added functionalities, etc., it is good. And when it comes to the charging, you have the support for the battery preconditioning. The good thing now is that you can manually activate that function here on the screen. So that means that you can optimize the charging, because that's really important when you need to reach this 135 kilowatts of charge speed. You will need to make sure to always reach that to be able to have a short charge curve and spend as less time at the charge as possible. So that's a good addition. And otherwise than that, you have all the bits and pieces, all the functions that you have on the Volkswagen cars, and that's not that much. Good thing though is that it seems to work fairly good. I'm not experiencing any specific bugs or something like that. It's a stable system. And fortunately, there is support for wireless, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay. And to be honest, I mean, 90% of the time I'm using Android Auto. And that way I still have the functions I need. I have the good voice assistant and all the functions I need, the applications, Spotify, music app, streaming, etc. Everything is available that way. So to be honest, the most important thing is the stability and that you can trust the system. And I think they have done a great job to making the system better than it was a couple of years ago. It's really more stable nowadays than compared to the early days of Volkswagen software. So I have nothing direct to complain about, but it's good to know that if you're used to Ford's system, you will need to relearn. You will get used to it. So after a week of driving, I will try to summarize my experience with the Ford Explorer Electric. I mean, this is a car similar to a lot of other cars on the market. You get the point. I prefer the exterior of this one. I think I also prefer the interior of the Ford Explorer over the other cars, and that's interesting. Maybe it's because it's a new car, it's a new thing to the market, and I'm used to see all the other cars, so that may be one of the reasons. I also like that it is a bit more compact, it's a bit more short than the other cars, but it still has a good amount of storage, but also a good back seat, so that's interesting. And when it comes to the price point, it may look a bit cheaper than the ID4 at a glance, but here in Sweden at least, heat pump is not included in the price. So when you add the heat pump, the price seems to be the same as the ID4. So the starting price for the small battery pack rear-wheel drive is 489,000 Swedish crowns or 47 or 48,000 euros. This version, premium version with the rear-wheel drive setup, big battery pack, costs 600,000, and that's with this color combination and the heat pump included. And in euros, it's around 56 or 57,000. So around the same price as the ID4 with the same or similar equipment. Otherwise, I think this is a nice car. It's fairly silent, it's really comfortable to drive, even if it doesn't have the DCC or active dampers. It is not bad at anything. I think it's a well-balanced setup. And to be completely honest, I don't feel any difference when driving this car compared to the other cars built on the same platform. They feel exactly the same. It's very hard to notice any difference, at least for me. I think the steering, the suspension, the amount of acceleration, how the car behaves with the region, etc., is the same. One observation is that the Ford seems to have 5 years of limited warranty compared to 2 years for the Volkswagen. I haven't read all the details about that, but that's maybe something to check before buying the car or choosing one of them. Other than that, I think it all boils down to what you want and what you prefer, and what kind of brand you want to drive around in. If you prefer the exterior and the Ford badge of the Explorer, or if you want a Volkswagen branded car. I mean, what do you think? Which one would you go for between the MEB cars? Is this the one, or would you pick any of the others? Share your thoughts, write comments, let us have a discussion. And as I always say, like, engage and subscribe. And most importantly, stay electric. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon.